Maya and Derek are both 30. Same job title, different companies. Same income, $68,000 a year. Same savings, $15,000 in the bank. Same rent, same student loan balance paid off 2 years ago. On paper, they are the same person twice. Then a $9,000 opportunity shows up for both of them in the same month. A chance to buy into a small equipment lease that a friend is running, projected to pay back 14% a year. Derek says no. He doesn't believe in touching debt for anything that isn't a house. Maya says yes. She takes a $9,000 personal loan at 11% to fund her half. Same starting line. One decision splits them. Here's what's actually different between them. It isn't income. It isn't discipline. Derek's budget is tighter than Maya's, and he's never missed a payment on anything in his life. The difference is what each of them thinks debt is for. Derek was raised on one rule. Debt is what happens when you can't afford something. His parents lost a car to repossession when he was 12, and the lesson stuck. Debt is the thing that got taken from you, not a thing you use. So Derek's rule is simple. If he can't pay cash, he doesn't buy it. He's debt-free, and he's proud of that. Maya was raised the same way, actually. Cash only, debt fear, the whole script. But at 24, a mentor showed her something that changed how she reads a loan offer. Not, can I afford the payment, but does what this money earns beat what it costs? An 11% loan funding something that returns 14% isn't debt in the way Derek means it. It's rented money, and the rent is cheaper than the return. Same numbers in front of them, two completely different questions being asked. Before we run the numbers, because the numbers are where this gets uncomfortable. If you've ever turned down an opportunity purely because it involved borrowing, I want to know in the comments, what was the rule you were taught and where did it come from? Now, here's what actually happens to each of them over the next 5 years. Derek keeps saving. He puts $500 a month toward a cash reserve, earning 4% in a high-yield account. After 5 years, that's $33,149. He never once carries a balance on anything. His net worth grows entirely at the pace of his paycheck. Maya takes the $9,000 loan at 11% interest, fixed over 5 years. Her monthly payment is $195.68. Total interest paid over the life of the loan, $2,741. Her half of the equipment lease returns 14% annually on her $9,000 stake, $1,260 a year paid out quarterly. Over 5 years, that's $6,300 in distributions. And at the end of 5 years, she still owns her $9,000 stake outright, now worth roughly $10,800 after modest appreciation in the equipment's resale value. Run the full math and run it honestly, including the part most people leave out. Maya received $6,300 in cash flow and an asset worth $10,800. Against that, she repaid the loan in full. $9,000 of principal plus $2,741 of interest for $11,741 repaid in total. Net gain, $6,300 plus $10,800 minus $11,741, $5,359. That's the real number, not the principal she got back counted twice, just the actual profit on money she never had in the first place. Derek, meanwhile, has saved the same $500 a month Maya was using to cover her loan payment, except Maya's $500 a month was covering $195.68 of debt and still leaving her $304.32 to save on top of it because the lease was cash flowing enough to cover most of the loan payment itself. So Maya isn't just up $5,359 from the deal. She's also still saving close to what Derek is. This is the part nobody tells you about debt. The interest rate isn't the risk. The gap between the interest rate and the return is the entire trade. An 11% loan is expensive if it's sitting idle. An 11% loan funding something paying 14% 11% isn't really an 11% loan. It's a 3% loan because that's the actual cost you're carrying once the return offsets it. Compare that to what debt does when the math runs backward. A 24% credit card balance funding a vacation isn't a 24% loan either. It's a 24% loan with a 0% return because the vacation doesn't pay you back. Put that same $9,000 on a card at 24% instead of Maya's 11% loan, amortized over the same 5 years, and you'd repay $15,535 total, over $6,500 more in interest for an asset that was gone in a week. Same word, debt, attached to two transactions that have nothing in common except the paperwork. There's a version of Derek that's actually invisible in this comparison, the opportunity he didn't take. His $33,149 in savings is real and it's safe, but it grew at 4%. Maya's $9,000 stake produced $5,359 in profit on top of the principal she got back, a return path that isn't available to money sitting in a savings account because that path required borrowing to access it in the first place. Cash alone can't buy into a deal that's sized bigger than your cash. Derek isn't wrong that debt can be dangerous. Derek is wrong that danger is the whole story. He's using one rule: debt bad, to answer a question that actually has two variables: the cost of the money and what the money is doing while you owe it. Collapse those two variables into one instinct, and you either avoid debt that would have made you money, or you take on debt that never had a chance of paying for itself. Same mistake, two different directions. But here's the part of Maya's story that doesn't make it into the version she tells at dinner. Month 19. The equipment breaks down for 6 weeks. No distributions that quarter. She's still on the hook for the full $195.68 loan payment. And now it's coming straight out of savings instead of being partially covered by lease income because the cash flow that was supposed to carry the debt just stopped. For 6 weeks, Maya is paying interest on a loan that's producing nothing, and she has to decide whether to keep going or cut her losses at a loss. She keeps going because the underlying math hasn't changed. The equipment gets fixed, the lease resumes, and by year 5, the numbers land where we calculated. But if the repair had taken 6 months instead of 6 weeks, or if the lease partner had walked away, Maya would have been carrying an 11% loan with a 0% return. Derek's exact nightmare, just with better intentions behind it. The strategy didn't fail, but it was never risk-free. And the version of this story that only shows the $5,359 is the version that gets people into debt they can't survive a bad 6 weeks in. So it was never debt is bad or debt is good. It was whether Maya had 6 weeks of $195.68 sitting somewhere she could survive without the lease income. And she did, because she never borrowed past what her cash reserve could cover if the return disappeared completely. That's the actual skill. Not fearing debt, not chasing it, pricing it against what it's funding, and keeping enough cash behind it to survive the version of the story where the return doesn't show up on schedule. Derek's debt-free path is safe because he never asked the money to do anything. Maya's path was only safe because she asked the money to do something and still planned for it to fail. None of this is a recommendation to go take out a loan. It's a recommendation to ask a better question than, is this debt? Ask what the money is being asked to do, what it costs to borrow it, and what happens to you specifically if the return shows up late or not at all. That question works whether you're looking at a mortgage, a business loan, or a 0% offer at a dealership. This channel exists to run those numbers out loud on real decisions so the math is visible instead of assumed. If you want more of these, real figures, no verdicts handed to you, subscribe, and the next video is already in the works. One question for you: has debt ever worked out better for you than the safe cash option would have? Tell me the numbers in the comments.